Hey, I know what's running through your head right now. You've got a project on the horizon, maybe a mix of metalwork, and the last thing you need is to dump cash on a welder that ends up gathering dust because it doesn't match what you actually need. You're probably thinking, is this the one that will actually cover the jobs I have without turning me into a part-time accountant tracking all the extra accessories? That's the exact doubt I felt before I started digging into the Miller Multimatic 215 PRO with the TIG Contractor Kit. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In this review, I'm going to walk through the real-world setup, everyday usability, and the hidden trade-offs, so you can decide whether this machine is worth slipping into your shop or if you should keep scrolling. First off, let's talk about what makes this welder stand out from the sea of single-process units. The Multimatic 215 PRO is a true multiprocess machine. It handles pulsed MIG, pulsed TIG, stick, and even flux cord welding. For anyone who jumps between automotive repairs, small-scale fabrication, and occasional homebrew projects, that flexibility can be a game-changer. The included TIG Contractor Kit means you don't have to hunt for a separate torch, foot pedal, and gas regulator. Everything you need to start TIG welding is already in the box. That's a tangible value point because the extra accessories for a dedicated TIG setup can easily add a few $100s to your total spend. Now, who should actually consider buying this? If you're a hobbyist or a small shop owner who regularly switches between thin sheet metal and thicker structural steel, the ability to toggle between MIG and TIG without swapping machines saves both floor space and time. Imagine you're restoring a classic car. You need MIG for the chassis patches, TIG for the delicate exhaust brackets, and stick for a quick repair on a rusty frame. With the Multimatic 215 PRO, you can stay in one spot, change the process via the selector, and keep the job moving forward. It also appeals to educators or training facilities where you want students to experiment with all three processes on a single, consistent platform. On the flip side, if you're a dedicated MIG welder who never strays into TIG or stick, you'll likely find the extra features unnecessary. The machine's weight around 45 pounds means it's not the lightest portable option on the market. For a traveling welder who needs a compact, single-process unit that fits into the trunk of a van, a dedicated MIG might be a better fit. Also, if you already own a full TIG setup and you're only looking for a backup MIG, the combined price of the Multimatic 215 PRO plus the contractor kit could feel steep compared with buying a standalone MIG welder. Let's move on to daily usability. Setting up the Multimatic is surprisingly straightforward once you've unpacked it. The control panel has a clear digital display that walks you through the AutoSet feature, which, as the name suggests, automatically calibrates voltage, amperage, and wire feed speed based on the material thickness you input. In practice, that means I could walk into a garage, input 3mm mild steel, hit AutoSet, and the machine dialed in a solid MIG bead without me having to guess the right settings. For less experienced users, that AutoSet can be a safety net. For seasoned welders, it speeds up preparation time and lets you focus on technique rather than dialing numbers. The pulsed MIG capability is another practical highlight. In a recent project building a custom motorcycle frame, I used pulsed MIG to control heat input on the thin tubing. The pulsing kept the weld pool from expanding excessively, which prevented warping that would have required additional straightening later. If you've ever struggled with heat distortion on thin sections, pulsed MIG can actually make a noticeable difference, even though the underlying technology is often touted in marketing jargon. Switching over to TIG, the contractor kit includes a foot pedal that gives you precise control over amperage. The real test came when I tried welding a 1mm stainless steel bracket for a marine application. The foot pedal let me gently ramp up the current as the weld pool formed, resulting in a clean, crater-free joint. The included torch has a comfortable grip and a decent gas flow adjustment knob, so you don't have to reach for separate tools to fine-tune your shielding gas. That integration saves you a few minutes per joint small, but over the course of a day's work those minutes add up. Of course, no machine is without its quirks. One practical weakness I ran into was the limited voltage range on the stick welding mode. While the Multimatic 215 PRO handles up to 250A on MIG and TIG, the stick side tops out around 200A, which is fine for most hobby projects but might feel restrictive if you're tackling heavier structural steel. Also, the multivoltage MVP, multi-voltage power, feature works great when you have a stable 120V outlet, but on a 240V source the machine doesn't automatically switch, you have to manually change a selector, which can be a